There are royal jewels worth millions locked inside the Windsor vault, not because they're precious, but because Queen Elizabeth thought they were too ugly to ever be seen in public. The palace never displayed them, never photographed them, and never mentioned them again. Tonight, we're opening the vault and revealing the 7 jewels the Queen refused to wear and the shocking reasons why. There are jewels in the royal vault worth millions, yet Queen Elizabeth refused to wear them, not because they were broken, not because they were dangerous, but because they were so painfully, shockingly ugly that even the Queen, who accepted gifts graciously all her life, simply could not put them on. Tonight, we're opening the hidden drawer of Windsor history and exposing the jewels the public never got to see. These are the royal pieces considered so hideous that Queen Elizabeth buried them in the vault forever. The story begins with a piece designed to be breathtaking and instead became a royal disaster. A wealthy industrial magnate from New Zealand sent the Queen an enormous emerald necklace in the late 1950s. The intention was affection. The result was horror. The emeralds were as big as grapes, unevenly cut, mismatched in color, and so heavy they could pull a person forward when they walked. To make it worse, the designer placed thick black onyx stones between every emerald, turning it into something that looked less like a luxury necklace and more like a mourning chain from a Gothic funeral. During a private fitting, the Queen tried it on once, just once. Everyone in the room held their breath. Elizabeth stood quietly, then slowly unclasped it with her own hands, placed it on the table, and walked away without a single word. That silence was louder than a command. For the rest of her reign, staff privately nicknamed that necklace the Mourning Monster. When the gift-giver politely asked why she was never photographed wearing it, the Queen simply replied, "Some things are more beautiful in treasure rooms than on people." That was her signature way of saying never again. The necklace returned to the vault, and no monarch has touched it since. But that was only the beginning. Not long after, another gift arrived, this time from an Italian duke known for his dramatic taste. The box opened to reveal a necklace shaped like a fully coiled snake. The eyes were red rubies, the scales were sharp diamonds, and the mouth opened in a fanged bite, as if the necklace itself was about to attack whoever wore it. Some might call it bold, artistic, daring. The Queen called it terrifying. When she saw it for the first time, she leaned closer, stared at the fanged mouth, and asked calmly, why would anyone want to put that around their neck? No anger, no complaint, just pure confusion. Princess Margaret, who adored wild fashion, actually liked the necklace and encouraged the Queen to wear it to an event just once. Elizabeth shook her head and said, "If I wear that, every photograph will say the Queen is about to bite someone." The whole room laughed, including the Queen, and that joke sealed the necklace's fate forever. It never touched her neck, not even in private. The palace quietly stored it in a vault section nicknamed the Dramatic Pieces, which was royal code for too bold, too strange, or too cartoonishly theatrical to ever be worn in public. And inside the royal family, these first 2 ugly jewels became a symbol, a reminder of what Elizabeth refused to compromise on. She never judged a gift by the price. She judged it by the message. She understood something very few people do. Clothing and jewelry are not just decoration. They communicate power. They send signals. And Queen Elizabeth refused to send the wrong signal. If a piece made her look uncomfortable, she would not wear it. If a piece made her look aggressive, she would not wear it. If a piece made her look like she was trying too hard, she would not wear it. It didn't matter who gifted it, where it came from, or how dazzling the jewels were on paper. The Queen had a rule: dignity above everything. A monarch represents a nation, not a fashion statement. But here's where the mystery deepens. If the first 2 jewels were already so outrageous, how bad were the rest? Because hidden deeper in the vault are pieces the public has never laid eyes on. A tiara so enormous that royal staff jokingly called it the Chandelier Hat. A brooch that Queen Elizabeth privately called the Pancake. A bracelet so uncomfortable she banned it from every event. Another jewel that actually frightened Prince Charles when he first saw it as a child. And the final one, the ugliest jewel in the royal vault, the piece that became a running joke behind palace doors for decades. None of these items were destroyed, none were sold. They were silently locked away, forgotten by the world until now. Tonight, we're revealing the rest of the jewels Queen Elizabeth refused to wear. The emerald disaster and the snake necklace were only the beginning. Hidden deeper in the royal vault were pieces far stranger, far heavier, and far more absurd. Pieces that were made with the best intentions, but looked like they came straight out of a fantasy novel. Queen Elizabeth never publicly criticized anyone's gift, but her silence spoke louder than any word, and nothing demonstrates that better than the third item on the list, the tiara staff, secretly called the Chandelier Hat. It arrived in the early 1970s from a Middle Eastern royal family, known for their extravagant taste. The moment the lid opened, gasps filled the room. The tiara was massive, dangerously massive. It wasn't delicate or curved like a traditional crown. It was built vertically, almost like a tower of diamonds stacked on top of Elizabeth's head. Each section of the tiara hung downward with crystal spikes that rattled when touched. The whole thing weighed so much that even the display cushion dipped under the pressure. When the Queen tried it on for just a moment, she struggled to keep her head straight. Everyone watching could see the discomfort, but the most shocking detail was the movement. Every time Elizabeth breathed, the diamond spikes swayed and clinked like glass wind chimes. She didn't laugh, she didn't protest, she simply asked, "Can one bow while wearing this?" The dresser answered honestly, "Your Majesty, if you bow wearing this, you may not come back up." The room burst into laughter, including the Queen, but that was the end of the Chandelier Hat. It never left the vault again. The fourth jewel wasn't heavy, it wasn't dangerous, it was just unfortunate. A brooch gifted by a well-known philanthropist in the United States. It was made entirely of yellow diamonds set in a circular design. The intention was to symbolize the rising sun, but the brooch was so wide, so flat, and so plain that it looked exactly like a golden pancake. When Elizabeth first saw it, she tilted her head, stared for a long moment, and then, very quietly, said, "That looks delicious." The palace staff tried their best to style it with outfits. They added it to coats, jackets, even evening dresses. Nothing worked. It made every outfit look clumsy and lopsided. Eventually, the brooch earned a nickname whispered among dressers, the Pancake. The Queen never wore it in public, but unlike the chandelier tiara, she actually appreciated its intention. She stored it carefully, though it remained untouched for the rest of her life. The fifth jewel wasn't visually shocking. The problem was pain. It was an emerald and ruby bracelet from a South American president. At first glance, it was stunning, but the inside of the bracelet was built with sharp vertical ridges to keep the gemstones in place. When worn, the edges dug into the skin like teeth. During a private fitting, the Queen winced after just a few seconds. She never complained about physical discomfort in public, but this time she simply removed it and said, "That bracelet bites." The staff tested it themselves later out of curiosity. Every single person felt the same sharp pain on the wrist. The Queen quietly banned that bracelet from every royal event. It was never displayed, never photographed, never mentioned again. But the sixth jewel was different. It wasn't heavy, it wasn't dangerous, it wasn't silly. It was creepy. It came from a small European aristocratic family and was intended as a token of respect, a dark sapphire locket surrounded by pearls. But when opened, the inside contained a portrait, a highly realistic, full-color painting of a woman nobody in the royal household recognized. The woman stared directly outward with intense eyes, almost lifelike, almost moving. According to royal staff, when Prince Charles saw the portrait as a young child, he jumped back and said, "She's staring at me." Even the adults felt uneasy looking at it. Queen Elizabeth closed the locket immediately and said, "Some things belong to history, not to people." The locket was sent to storage that same night and was never opened again. And now we reach the seventh and final jewel, the one considered by the palace to be the ugliest royal item of all. It wasn't the most dramatic, the heaviest, or the most frightening, but it was the most confusing piece ever created for a monarch. It was a crown-shaped necklace from a European luxury designer who wanted to reinvent royal fashion. The necklace was built to look like a miniature crown wrapping around the neck. Across the front were red and green gemstones arranged in zigzag spikes. It didn't look like jewelry. It looked like a Christmas ornament turned into medieval armor. When the Queen first tried it on, she looked at her reflection and said softly, "I appear to be wearing a holiday hedge." Prince Philip was in the room at the time, and he laughed so hard he had to walk out. That reaction sealed the fate of the necklace forever. It became the private running joke of the royal family. Anytime someone asked where it was, the staff would answer, "Guarding Christmas in the vault," and that's where it stayed, untouched for decades. All 7 of these jewels shared one simple fate. They were expensive, they were valuable, but they didn't match the queen. To the world, they were priceless gems. To Elizabeth, they were distractions. She understood something deeper than wealth or glamour. A monarch isn't remembered by how bright their jewels shine. A monarch is remembered by how they carry themselves, how they represent their people, and how they never lose their dignity in front of the world. She chose purpose over spectacle, grace over noise, meaning over extravagance, and that is why the world remembers her not only as a queen, but as a legend.